Alrighty, welcome back. We're continuing our series on composing a music concrete piece using Audacity. Currently we are on a tangent in Spear, looking at some of the tools and features of Spear. So I'm going to create a new file, and now we're going to look at this drawing tool. Now Spear draws sine waves. So we can see the frequency if I start at 500 and I just draw basically a straight line. It's drawing a little bit of a curve. I'm having a hard time drawing a straight line with my mouse, but that's what that sounds like. Okay, so you can see it started there, and then when I got to this point and the sound increased in its frequency. You can see this is automatically selected because I just drew it. If I drew a new one, that one will be the one that's selected now. Okay, now you can see that at the very beginning there's a very light gray color. It gets more intense in color here, and then at the very end there's just a quick little fade out. Spear is very good about that. When you draw with the drawing tool, it will give you a small ramp or fade in and fade out so that you don't get those abrupt blips and clips in the sound, which is nice. So that's good about that. Now let's take a look at this. We'll draw one more frequency here. Okay. All right, so again, I drew that one, so that one is the one selected. If I do any manipulation here, it's just going to affect that one thing that I drew. Control Z, moving it this way, Control Z, stretch. Okay, so let's say that I want to try to line up all these different lines to be the same length. Okay, so that one and that one look pretty good, and I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to stretch that out here. So now they're the same length approximately. Now, one of the things that when you're sculpting sound this way you have to be aware of is the human ear and how our ear works. We tend to hear higher frequencies louder than lower frequencies. So you can hear that when the sound was low sound was by itself, it was clear, but now it's not nearly as clear because these other frequencies in the higher ranges are kind of overpowering it. Let me draw one more. All right. Okay, so one of the things that we can do in this sculpting scenario is I've got this highest sound selected. What I want to do is balance these out so they're more even sounding to the human ear. Again, Spear drew these at the exact same amplitude levels, but our ear perceives the higher frequencies as being louder. It's just the way our ears and our brains work. So we have to kind of compensate that. We have to compensate for that. So what I'm going to do is use the transform, and I'm going to do a change amplitude. So I'm going to change these basically all at the same ratio. I'm going to start with this highest one, and I'm going to subtract 18 decibels. And you can hear that it's made these a little bit clearer. I'm going to do this similar thing with this one. Now, Control M is the shortcut here in Spear for the amplitude function. Right? Control M. Now, because this is lower in frequency, I'm going to lower this -12 instead. I'm also going to lower this one -6. Control M, -6. Okay? So what I've done is I've decreased this volume 18 decibels, this volume 12 decibels, and this volume 6 decibels because of the ratio of the frequency distance apart. And now you can hear there's a much better balance of the sound because I've done that. Again, the way the human ear works, it hears these higher frequencies as being louder when they are at the same amplitude level graphically or data-wise. So you have to kind of compensate for that by when you're sculpting to adjust those higher frequencies to not come out so far, unless that's what you want it to sound like. But if you want it to sound more natural to what a musical instrument would produce, then you kind of have to accommodate for those types of situations. All right, so that's basically drawing sort of straight lines. Obviously, it's very difficult to draw straight versus curved lines. I'm going to select all of that and delete. Okay. Now, the zooming feature. It is control and then bracket. If you do control close bracket, you go closer in. You can see that the seconds are getting smaller and smaller, and the frequencies are also getting tighter. So whereas we could see over 1,000 hertz, now we're under 1,000 hertz. This can help you if you're wanting to draw specifically more straight lines. As you go even tighter, you'll see it gives me the node points on that drawing. So I can actually select specific nodes and manipulate them. I can undo that. I can use our selection tools to select a series of nodes and then manipulate the whole block right there. Whoops, I selected. Then there is some experimentation that you can try different methods. Okay. If I want to select the whole thing. Oh, duh. If I wanted to do that, then I would have done that move. And that will move them all together, yeah. Otherwise, I'm trying to select individual nodes. Okay. Undo, undo. So if you want to draw straight lines I'm not sure that, unfortunately, there's not good documentation on this software. Again, it's freeware, so I've not found any specific way to draw absolute straight lines. I achieved it somehow, some way. I don't know if there's a button to push, but the documentation does not say how can you draw an absolutely perfect straight line. But if we zoom out, again, control, and this is control bracket open, control open bracket. Okay, I'm going to zoom way out. So we can see we have 22, 23 seconds of time. And if I draw a line, okay, you can see it, I had a curve, a slight curve, and so it did straighten this out into a straight line. So I think if you want to draw a straight line, you want to do it more, zoom further out, and it will give you a better straight line. And then you can use the editing tools to select specific parts of the line. Again, zoom in, and that way you can control whether you're having an absolute straight line versus a curve. But that's something to experiment with. Again, the documentation is not quite as precise as one would hope with those types of particular functions. But that gives you the basic idea of using the drawing tool and zooming in and out if you're wanting to sculpt and create your own sounds from scratch, or add some frequencies to sounds that you've brought in with the analysis tool. So either way. All right, now I'm going to do something and create the title of my piece. I'm going to draw it out using the lines, and I'm going to draw the title of the piece and my name so that I can encode the title of the piece and my name into the file with the audio that we get output from this program. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'm going to fast forward through me drawing. Actually, I'm just going to skip the drawing part because that's really boring. But essentially, I will draw lines. Now, yeah, before I do that, okay, I'm having a hard time drawing a straight line. So again, I may be zoomed too far out. Select all, delete. So you will, if you want to draw specific drawings, you will have to find the correct zoom for your desired shapes and precision level. All right, you see I spent some time drawing the title. Bowl Appetit is the title, and you can see my name there. If we zoom in a little bit, we can get a little bit better of a look at that. Oops, I lost my little beginning of my B line. There we go. Okay, so it's very crude, obviously, but again, it's just a different way of encoding the information into a sound. Here's what that sounds like. Just chirpy, blittery kind of noise. Okay, but again, just trying to be a little bit clever on putting the title into the actual recording. So what I had done here is I had selected this bit here. No, I did this. Okay, and I just copied and pasted and brought it up to approximately an octave above, just to have a copy of it up there. All right, and then I saved it. Save as, and of course I'm being clever again. I'm calling it the title wave. And I'm saving this as a project file in Spear. SDIF is the Spear project file. Save title wave. Yes, I want to replace it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this as a WAV file. Now, it's not an export in this particular program. We call this synthesis in this case because it's going to synthesize to a file, synthesize to new file. Okay, so that's what I want to select. We can choose different synthesis methods, oscillators with phase, or inverse FFT. I'm just going to use it at the default, which is oscillators, and I'm going to synthesize to new file. Again, title wave, and I will replace that. So it just made a quick little synthesis of that file. And let me open up Audacity, and we can plug that in, or we can bring that into Audacity so we can see what that looks like. And now we're going from that frequency look to back, and we're going to look at the wave file as an amplitude now. All right, there's our title wave. And that's what it sounds like. So that is using the drawing tools in Spear to create a sound from scratch. I'm going to look at a few of the other options here in the next video for Spear. We'll pick it up there.